You're now listening to Apostle King Podcast. We are diamonds in the rough. Keep shining because of love. Diamonds in the rough. Keep shining because of love. No, you can't stop my shine, can't stop my light. I'm a testimony, I'm a shine so bright. I'm a diamond in the rough.
Okay. Hello. I can't hear you, Apostle. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Let me go out and come back in because I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Test one, two, one, two, one, two. I don't know what's going on, Apostle. I can't hear you. Um, and I don't know if you can hear me.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Praise God.
Lord have
Listen,
mercy.
y'all, this right here,
I know this is going to
this
be
right
great.
here is what you call blind faith, okay?
This is
This
this is
right
going to be
here,
great.
it
Hmm.
has to be. This right here is what you call blind faith. So really, really quickly, sir, could you please introduce yourself to those of you to those of us that may not know who you are?
Okay. I am NKOSI, Majestic, aka Erick Matthews. That's my name that I was given at birth, Erick Matthews. I've done many years in the gospel industry, starting out with John P. Key. He signed me to my first deal, and throughout life, decided to move in another direction, and so that's who I am.
Amen. And we're gonna get into the direction in a second, y'all. All right, so real
All
quick,
right.
real quick. As a matter of fact, could you give us a few, just give us about 30 seconds of a few accolades that you have?
Okay, yeah. Started out with John P. Key, sung on a couple of records, the Stand record, the Christmas album, Strength album, in which I led, on all three of those albums. Kid and Play, Play from Kid and Play was my manager for 3 years. I've traveled with MC Hammer. I've shared the stage with almost, pretty much everybody in the industry, from Kurt Franklin to Yolanda Adams, and the list goes on and on. I'm
Amen.
also, yeah, I can stop there.
No, that's good. That's good. Okay, so we're gonna be right back, y'all. Whatever you do, you better not go nowhere. I'm telling you that. You better not go nowhere, because when we come back, God is gonna move like He's never moved before, and He's going to up in a way that we have never seen before. So y'all do me a favor. Stay right there. We'll be right back. All right, y'all, and we are back. So let's get right into it. Let's get right in. Podcast title once again is Blind Faith. All right, Blind Faith. So I want to ask you a question. What is blind faith? What is the meaning of blind faith? I'm glad you asked. Let me give you the answer. The meaning of blind faith is to make an impulsive choice with no logical backing, with a that is going to work out for your good. All right? Having complete confidence that the choice made, though impulsive, was the right choice to make without any confirmation or support from other people. So, what does blind faith look like? What does blind faith look like? Noah exercised blind faith when he was instructed to create the ark. Moses exercised blind faith when he to part the Red Sea. Martin Luther King exercised blind faith when he was instructed to lead the civil rights movement. Some of y'all have exercised blind faith like Apostle Paul, going from one transition to the other in the face of those who persecuted you. So what is that? What am I saying? What does that look like? Blind faith. Have you ever been the one that everybody talked about, everybody criticized, everybody ridiculed, everybody looked down on because you had a couple weaknesses and you was going through some stuff, and they didn't understand that you were being prepared on the backside of a mountain? They didn't understand that God was preparing you for the people and preparing a people for you. And in order to do that, you had to go through what they went through. You had to be touched by the feelings of their infirmities. So when God would tell you to do certain things, regardless of what the folks had to say about you, you did it anyway. Regardless of even the own doubts you had for yourself, you did it anyway. That's called blind faith. Brother NKOSI over here used blind faith when he moved from one part of the world to the next just to complete his mission in life. It was blind faith to go from gospel music to secular. I can't imagine the backlash that you may have encountered because you had to exercise blind faith. So, brother, I want to ask you real quickly, when you hear that phrase blind faith, how does it resonate with you?
It resonates with me on many levels. I was just kind of listening to you talk, and not only did my faith become blind faith, it became it was visible to what I was focused on, but it was invisible to what was in opposition to me and accomplishing
Wow.
what it was that I was trying to accomplish. So you talked about the naysayers and so forth. Um, I'm so focused on what it is that I feel like I'm supposed to be doing. I can't even hear, uh, the naysayers, and so it's blind in a sense, but it's clear in another sense. So I'm so focused on what it is that I'm supposed to do. I really don't have time to entertain anything that would be anti what it is I'm supposed to do. So in that
Okay,
way,
so
go ahead. I'm sorry.
go ahead.
Well, I
I
was
was
just
going to
saying.
ask you.
I think there's a delay. There's a delay. I'm sorry. Go
I
ahead.
think so too. Okay, for those of us that might struggle, because I'm assuming that that sounds like a skill set, right? To be able to drown out the noise per se, to be able to hear the naysayers and not pay them any attention, or to have like horse blinders of sort.
Mhm.
For someone who is accustomed to people pleasing, what would that look like for them to be able to drown out the naysayers?
Well, first they have to overcome the desire to please others, you know,
Yeah.
and what it is that is their life mission or their life path has to become more important than the accolades, the applause, or the support of others. Um, and so I think when that's dealt with, then it becomes easy to move in a direction, regardless of the applause, regardless of the support, or regardless of the negative, uh, forecast that people may give regarding your life.
Mm-hmm.
Many people want to be in the position of God and tell you what you're supposed to be doing and what you're not supposed to be doing, and it's not really their job to do that. You know what I mean? And once you get clear on that, then the effect of the voices that speak against you or speak about you in a negative way doesn't affect you. And so I would say, to answer your question, that is how a person overcomes pleasing, others. Their mission and purpose has to become more important than what people have to say.
Yes, absolutely. And it's so true. And I believe that part of that process is you experience some kind of public scrutiny. You
Yeah.
experience some kind of ridicule from a group setting, like, like you're the one that stands out like a sore thumb
Hmm.
usually. And
Hmm.
being going through that teaches you how to stand alone and stand with God at the same time, because you learn that no matter what you do, whether it be good, whether it be bad, somebody gonna always have something to say. And
Absolutely. Absolutely.
feel like I truly feel like God puts, especially when you're called and chosen and marked for something great, you
Hmm.
have to know how to stand alone. You have to know how to drown out what other people have to say, especially if God is doing something new and different, and that's what He's doing. And if
Hmm.
He's doing something new and different, that means more than likely the play ain't been written yet. You got the blueprint.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, how does someone? What kind of practice can someone practice? What can a person do on a day to day that's still struggling with the people pleasing to learn how to be confident? That's the word, within themselves, and confident enough to do what God is telling them to do.
There are a number of things. Number one, you have to understand what your path is. You have to understand that you are a trailblazer. And when you understand that you are a trailblazer, then blazing the trail becomes more important than what an individual has to say or what they think about what it is that you're doing. It becomes a matter of focusing on who you're called to impact. And when you focused on who you call to impact, then you don't worry about who's not being impacted, because whoever is not being impacted is not for them. Okay. And so I can give you a number of things. We don't change drastically as humans, we change gradually, meaning that we change over time, unless there's something that happens in our lives that's traumatic and it causes us to change immediately. We are beings and humans that are used to slow change. So people don't change drastically, they change gradually. That's why you can meet somebody that you went to high school with and they got the same hairstyle or dressing the same way. They stuck in a time warp. It's because we
Wow.
are creatures of habit, right? And so over time, we have to change unless we are focused and concentrating on, which is my first key. You have to be focused and concentrated on change, right? And oftentimes when you're trying to change, yes.
Yes, yes. Listen, I hate to have to cut you off. I
It's okay.
hate,
It's okay.
but need you in it. Guys, don't you go nowhere. Don't you go nowhere. About to get real good. We'll be right back. All right, we are back. Okay, please go ahead. Go
Okay,
ahead.
so I'll make this as short as possible. When you look at change, one of the first things you have to understand that there is a deprogramming that has to take place, right? Most people don't change situations externally because they don't understand that there are a set of dynamics that causes a situation to be the way that it is. Those dynamics could be the way you
Mm,
respond to a situation, the way you view a situation, the way you feel about a situation, or the way that you allow people to make you feel about a situation. So the way that we change external things is that we have to understand that externally things won't change until things change internally, meaning that we have to change things that are within our control. Oftentimes we try to change people, but by default, if you change something that you're in control of, then that causes the whole dynamic around you to change because you are actually dealing with what it is that you're dealing with because of the set of dynamics. Once you change one thing, it can't be what it currently is. It may get worse, it may get better, but it can't be what it currently is. And so that's the first thing that I would encourage people to do. Is change what is in your control, change your response, change how you feel about it. Educate yourself a little bit more so you can look through a different pair of lenses. So that's one major thing that I think that would cause change. Yeah. So, the second thing I would say would be, you know, unlearning habits, right? When you unlearn habits, you have to replace that habit with something else. And whatever you replace it with, that has to become a habit. Well, habits come through a collection of thoughts, through a collection of perspective, through words, and through behavior. And so it starts in the mind. You have to start with your thinking. Normally what I do to change something is I have to stop thinking about it in the way that I thought about it, right? And so if there's a thought that can't be used, then I send it back from where it came from. If it's not usable, in a positive way. So let's say that I feel that God is leading me to switch what I'm doing and go into R&B, and somebody has something negative to say about that. Well, what I decide to do is not to allow what they feel to affect the direction I know that I'm going in, right? So I change my response to it and I focus on creating a habit in the direction that I'm moving in. Because I know eventually what happens is people will see, if God is really leading and guiding you, it's going to speak in the end. And so the hardest thing to do is to get over whatever comments or whatever thoughts people have about something. So those are two major things that I use to change situations. I change internally, and by default, things change externally. Should I continue on?
are you able to hear me?
I am. I can hear you.
Okay.
Yes.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, I am. I am able
Okay.
to hear you.
I just want to make sure because there's something going on with this entire thing right now. So we
Yeah,
gonna
yeah. I
do
hear
some
the
blind
echo in the
faith and push
background.
through it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So I want to ask you really quickly, how does how did you specifically, personally, have to use blind faith? Like walk us through that process. What did that look like?
Well, it depends on what area we're talking about in my life. From really a child, I've had to walk, you know, using blind faith. A lot of times I didn't know how situations would turn out. Um, from even a child, I grew up in a household with a stepfather that was a pastor. My mom is a musician, and he was a extremely abusive guy. So for 20 years, my mom was in a relationship where she would get pushed down steps, pushed out of moving cars, beat to the point where we couldn't recognize who she was. And then I have to get up every Sunday or every Wednesday and see this guy preach. And so as a young child, it was blind faith to believe against the odds that I would make it out of that situation. you know as I grew up later in life, you know it was blind faith to believe that I could accomplish becoming a national recording artist and doing something that I've dreamed about since the age of 4, that I could do it professionally and survive on it. Had a lot of family members saying that, that wouldn't happen and the odds of that happening, and, all of the things that people say. So I had blind faith with that. And what I did was actually what I suggested to the listening audience earlier. I started doing what was in my control. I didn't have a record deal. I didn't have a platform to travel, but I had a brain and I had songs. So I started writing songs. I started preparing. I started doing what was in my control to do. That's blind faith. To believe something that everybody else thinks is impossible, but you start with what you're in control of. So I started writing songs. I started getting in the mirror, and trying to get my stage presence right. Just things that was within my control. Later on in my life, you know, I decided to move to Africa, and that was blind faith. At the time, I didn't know how I was going to get there, and I purposely didn't tell anybody until 2 months before I had to leave. So I did the same thing, no different. I started doing what was in my control to do. Okay, I don't have the money to get to Africa presently, but I got the money to get a passport. I have the money. I have the wisdom to do the research and decide where I want to stay, where I want to live. I can decide what I want to do when I get there. So blind faith is about doing what is in your power to do, even though you can't see how it's going to be accomplished. So those are just a few examples of blind faith as it relates to me. you know.
Ooh, okay, sorry. That kind of just, I'm literally having a blind faith moment. I'm gonna tell you why in a minute, right?
Okay, okay, okay.
But it's the thing that you said, to do what you can control. Do what you can control. And that
Yeah.
resonates for me because what I'm hearing is you can't control what other people think. You can't control what other people say. The only thing you can control is you.
Absolutely.
The only thing
Absolutely.
you can control is if you're obeying the instructions. I don't want to make this sound so churchy because being obedient to God is not confined to the four walls of the church. Some
Hmm.
of us have been called, like you said earlier, to the marketplace.
Hmm.
And in order
Absolutely.
to do that, you got to kind of come up off that holier than that. You got to
Hmm.
come up about, you got just a little bit. Just like
Yeah.
Jesus was all things to all men. You
Yeah.
got to come up off of that in order to reach these people that are out there to bring God to them.
Yeah. I
And
think. I think.
sometimes I get ridiculed for that often.
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
sometimes I'll be in places that people don't feel like I should be in because I got an apostle in front of my name.
Hmm.
Not understanding that God has someone there that I'm assigned to that has my story and
Hmm.
gave me the blueprint on how to overcome and come out of it. And
Hmm.
if I open my mouth, just me opening my mouth is giving them God.
Hmm.
I ain't got to preach. I ain't gotta quote that. I ain't gotta shove the Bible down their throat. I ain't gotta do none of that. Just me opening my mouth
Yes.
is giving them God.
Yeah.
And
I
people
think
will ridicule me for that because they feel like, oh, Q, that's not holy. You're an apostle. You can't be doing stuff. You can't be going. You can't be offended. Listen, I'm gonna tell you what I said when I get back. All right, when we get back after this commercial, I'm gonna tell you what I said. We'll be right back, y'all. All right, y'all, and we are back. Okay, back to what I said. I told you, may the Lord watch. And sometimes people, when they hear that phrase or that scripture, may the Lord watch, they thinking
mhm,
I'm bidding you farewell. No, that's really a statement of war. Y'all got to do y'all research. May the
mhm, mhm,
Lord watch. Be mindful who you put in your mouth on, because what God will use the foolish things of this
mhm,
world to confound the wise. In
mhm,
other words, the very thing that you think is stupid will be the thing that God uses to show you just how stupid you are. I'm sorry to say it like
mhm.
that. I said, God, I'm
That's
going to be
okay.
holy on tonight. But okay, I want you to give us an understanding, like right there, like being, and I'm harping here. It got to be for a reason.
Mhm,
Let's look at Apostle Paul, right?
mhm,
Apostle Paul was killing all the Christians. He had a reputation of being a murderer. He had a reputation, but if you do your research, Apostle Paul really thought he was doing God's work.
mhm.
Apostle Paul was not just out there killing Christians just because he was wicked and evil. In his mind, they didn't have any understanding of who Christ was then. So when that group of people rose up, when the disciples began to rise up and start preaching the gospel, Apostle Paul thought they were speaking blasphemy because
Mhm.
the revelation had not yet come about who Christ was. So he was killing Christians, thinking in his mind he was doing God a favor,
Mhm.
until he went on a road to Damascus and he had an experience where God blinded him. And in that experience, God visited him. And he had to have literally blind faith to
Yeah,
believe and to do what God was telling him to do. He couldn't see.
yeah,
And the very people that he was persecuting, the one the one who was sending them to preach the gospel, is the one who came to visit him. He had to have blind faith to communicate with Christ and then repent and then go
yeah,
out into the world and become the new apostle and preach the gospel into all the world. That took blind, literally blind faith. Because guess what? Now he got to come up against people that just saw him do. Y'all don't hear what I'm saying. I'm telling you a story, but I need you to find yourself. How many of y'all was in these streets cutting up and acting a fool? How many of y'all was in the dope? God help me, Lord, to
mm,
be mindful of how I say this. How many of y'all was in the tracks, in the strip clubs, doing all kind of what, and everybody saw you do it, and then one day, you heard that call. You went on your Damascus road, and God put you flat on your back just to get your attention. He cleaned you up. He dusted you off. He made you new just to send you back out into the very faces of the same people who saw you doing what you was doing. And now you got to do what he's telling you to do. That's blind, sir. Whenever you feel like you could come right in. I
Hey,
know you
I,
done got you a download already.
what I was thinking about while you were talking was, first of all, anybody that's following Yeshua, and if I don't call him Jesus, no, I'm talking about the same person. I'm calling him by his Hebrew name, Yeshua. But the thing is, um, one of the things that he said that we would be identified by is the thing that he dealt with, and that was persecution. So, he said, if I've suffered in the flesh, arm yourself likewise. In other words, get ready to do the same thing that I've done. So, people frown on persecution and judgment and those kinds of things, but that is the life of a trailblazer. That is the life of someone who chooses to walk and live their life using blind faith. You know, I think that was oftentimes the reason why he was criticized, because he was out in the marketplace. I think what he understood is that if you only have influence in the temple, then you won't have any influence in the marketplace. And if everybody in the temple understands uh, about what they should be doing, they're trying to get their life together. That's the only influence you're going to have. You got to get out. In fact, he found his team in the marketplace. He found Peter, he found John, he found James, he found all of them in the marketplace. When you look at the 12 tribes, the only one that's dedicated to the temple is the Levites. Everybody else is where? They in the marketplace. And so if you are carrying the gospel somewhere, it's not going to be to the temple, it's going to be to the marketplace. And so I just want to encourage everybody to not be concerned about somebody. That's an indication that you're moving in the direction you need to be moving in. It's always going to be some doubter or somebody that doesn't believe that you're going to accomplish what it is that you're going to accomplish. But the good thing is, once it's accomplished, it will speak for itself. So we have to just, focus on actually accomplishing what it is that's set before us. And once it's done, it'll speak for itself. Let me give you an example. Denzel Washington, right? Got a few years ago, really came to a place that he should have been, in my opinion, long ago, you know. But what happened with him is that his body of work spoke on his behalf. When people were hating, he ended up getting an Oscar for a movie that probably wasn't his best movie, but he just kept producing such products of excellence that his body of work spoke for itself. And they ended up giving him an Oscar for, something that, was less than what he had done, over time. So I just want to encourage everybody, if you don't get the accolades you need right now, and it's just criticism and so forth, your body of work is going to speak for itself. Just keep producing products of excellence. Just keep on covering ground, no matter how slow it is. Over time, you can look back and see the distance that you covered, and other people will be able to recognize it as well.
So what I'm hearing you say is not to despise small beginnings.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Don't despise small beginnings. Everything starts off as a seed, you know, but the ability that a seed has is to grow, you know. And the thing is, you don't see it growing, because it's growing underground. You don't see it growing. You don't see that it's being nourished. You don't see that it's going to be something big that will offer fruit and food to people that's around it. You don't see those things in the growth stage. But, it's necessary for that process to happen, because dirt is involved in the growth process. you know, when people speaking dirt on your name, dirt on your reputation, it's a part of the process. You mix that dirt with water, and you're gonna grow. But notice now, it's got to be continuous dirt. There's got to be continuous water in order for continuous growth. I know I'm going to accomplish what I'm going to accomplish. I know there's a lot of other people out there are going to accomplish what they're going to accomplish, because they're going through this process to understand that now, that it takes dirt and water to grow, and dark times to grow. And as long as you grow, at some point that fruit is going to appear on that tree. And the same people that threw dirt on you are going to be same people picking from that tree, eating the fruit. I don't want to go on and on because I can, you know. I can't hear you now. Apostle, I can't hear you now. I can't hear you. I cannot hear you. I'm reading your lips. I can't hear you. Okay. And I'll just continue to talk until you come back in, but we're gonna make it through this, you know. So in other words, I just want to, just again, I want to encourage everybody out there that might be listening to just you know, struggle, scratch, scrape, do what it is that you have to do to create the habit of following through, you know, uh, and become a professional at failing to fail, and the way that you become a professional at failing to fail is, first of all, you got to decide in your mind that there are no other options. When you decide in your mind that there are no other options except for the option that you set before you, then you can move forward and not worry about what you find that it has become an obstacle in your way. You know, the word decision means to cut away. So basically, what you're doing is you're cutting away any other possibility. When you make your mind up on what you decided on, there are no other possibilities. There are no pool of choices that I have to pick from. It's got to be this, or nothing. And once you decide that, it'll make you tough skinned, and it'll put you in a place where you'll accomplish everything that you set before you, regardless of what obstacle that's in your way. So you just got to continue to do that until it becomes a habit. And when it becomes a habit, what happens is the forces that's working against you will start working for you. When the guy broke the sound barrier, there were a lot of things that he had to calculate that were working against him. Velocity, the weight of the vehicle. You can chime in anytime, Apostle. I'm just flowing. All of those things he had to look at that was stopping him. But there's something
Can you
about
hear me?
momentum. I can hear you now. I can hear you.
You can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, it's just what you just said. How stuff that's being used against you starts to work for you. Let me just let y'all in on something that's going on right now, y'all. I have never in my life experienced such interesting, and I'm gonna use that word because I'm gonna be very mindful about what I say. Have such
Mhm.
interesting technical issues. You want to know what blind faith is? This is blind faith. I'm gonna let y'all in on what's going on right. The enemy is trying to attack this so bad because what this anointed, powerful apostle is. It's the way he bringing it. He bringing it with such ease, and it's flowing, and he's dropping gems, and he's really giving us food for thought, y'all. He's really giving us some food. And for some reason, the enemy does not want you to hear it. So let me tell you what blind faith looked like. This entire time, I can't hear you, believe it or not. I
Wow.
can't hear. You
Wow.
know what I'm doing? I'm using blind faith. You see this right here? I'm using my phone. I'm actually in my own live just so I can
Wow.
hear what you're
Here.
saying. And listen,
Wow.
this faith right here is so blind that there's a delay. So I gotta kind of figure
Right. I knew I heard a
I gotta
delay.
kind of figure out when to kind of come in because there's a delay, but it's blind faith. You know why? I refuse
Mm,
in the name of Jesus, because the enemy want me to shut this down so bad. I'm talking about it's a loud whisper. You hear me?
mm.
It's a loud whisper trying to convince me. Just cut it down. Just I refuse. We gonna use blind faith tonight. Proceed, Bishop.
Okay, well, and I'm not apostle, by the way. I don't carry any of those titles or anything. I'm just speaking from a place of experience. But as I was saying about the momentum, there's one thing about momentum. When you create momentum, there's a place that you get to when you create momentum where the things that are working against you start working for you. And this is how the guy broke the sound barrier. The velocity, the wind, everything that was uh, coming against him to break the sound barrier actually flipped. And instead of pushing against him, it started pushing him forward. And so that's what momentum is. You got to stay with something until you gain momentum. Because here's the thing about momentum: when you gain momentum, whoever gets in front of it is going to be ran over. You know, it's just like an 18 wheeler. You know, an 18 wheeler, when it gains momentum, it can't stop on a dime. If something gets in front of it, it's going to get ran over, right? And so we have to create momentum in such a way when it comes to us doing what it is that we have to do, that whatever under normal circumstances will get in our way and discourage us from doing it, and we run right over it because we got so much momentum we couldn't stop if we wanted to. And that's where I am. I can't stop because somebody's saying, giving their opinion. I can't stop because of technical difficulties. I can't stop because, I may not have the money or think I have the resources to do what it is that I really want to do. I can't stop. Why? Because I've done this so long and I've created so much momentum that now what was working against me is working for me. And what happens is he broke the sound barrier, because what was against him became his ally. And so, the same people that's talking against you, the same people that try to stop you, same people that's got something negative to say will be the same people in line buying them tickets, supporting you, sponsoring you on this show, or for the listening audience, whatever it is that you're trying to do. Them same people will that's working against you will work for you. You just got to build enough momentum till they realize you can't beat them. You might as well join them. You know what I mean? So, you know, go ahead.
So that building the momentum part is really like ringing for me. Building the momentum, what I hear is it's like practicing your faith. In other words, no matter what obstacles come in front of you, no matter what people are saying, no matter what is being presented, none of that matters. Your job is to keep going.
Yeah, not only is your
Your
job to
job
keep
is to
going,
press forward.
mhm, but your job also is to maintain an emotional balance. you know um and what I mean by that is your focus has to stay the same. You can't not allow things externally to change your frequency, to change your vibration. you know Many of us don't realize that God has given us the ability to create. So in so many words, God is not really doing anything. He's done everything that he's going to do. He's given us dominion in the earth. And he said, so a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Right? Another version says, so he becomes. So we are constantly becoming what we are thinking. Right? So the problem is when something happens, it knocks us off of feeling and thinking the way that we need to think. So a man thinketh in his heart, so is he, or so he becomes. Right? It's the obstacle that comes to knock us off our square, to where we're not believing anymore that it's possible for us to accomplish what it is that we accomplish. He said, be it unto you, not according to my ability, but according to your faith. Right? So if it's according to my faith, then I'm the one that should be blamed for not accomplishing what it is that I got to accomplish.
Okay, so for those of us, praise the Lord, we, especially women, we are emotional beings. How
Mm-hmm.
does someone that struggles with balancing their emotions, like what does that look like? How do you, like, okay, we're gonna come right back.
Okay.
Because I want to dive into this. I want to
Okay.
dive into this because you're gonna help somebody today, sir. You finna help somebody today.
Mhm.
So y'all don't go nowhere. When we come back, we are gonna talk about what it looks like to balance your emotions. There it is. I knew it was coming. We're gonna talk about what it looks like to balance your emotions. All right, y'all. We'll be right back. All right, y'all, and we are back. So we left off on how you're supposed to balance your emotion. How does someone that struggles with emotional issues, like how do you do that?
The way that you do that is you start with the thoughts, right? Um, a thought has the ability to produce an emotion. This is where your emotions come from. If you don't believe it, all you got to do is just think about right now something that happened to you in the past that made you feel angry or sad. Past pain or past anger will become present pain or present anger, right? Because of your attention that you give it through your thoughts. Well, your thoughts causes the emotion to come into fruition, right? And then after that, what happens is it affects your behavior, and then your behavior, starts to react to your thoughts, your emotions, right? So you got to start with your thoughts. If you want to control your emotions, you got to start with your thoughts, right? What are your thoughts about what's happening to you? What are your thoughts about what people are saying? What are your thoughts about whether you can accomplish what you're trying to accomplish or not? And so that's where you start. You start with changing that. And the way you start changing that is introducing other thoughts to your mind. Can't but one thought occupy your mind at one time, right? So it's either I can do it or I can't. So every time a thought comes that's not usable, what can you do with I can't do it? I'm afraid. You can't do anything but fail. So it's not usable. So you replace that thought with another thought, which is should be the opposite of what that thought is. I can do it, right? Faith cometh by hearing, right? So it's not faith cometh by what you hear. Faith cometh by hearing. So you embed that thought in your mind by speaking it over and over and over again. I can do this, and to add more momentum to that, stand in the mirror and look at yourself and say that I can do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to accomplish this. And if you get bold enough, put a time frame on it. I'm going to accomplish this at this time. So a man thinketh in his heart, so is he, or so he or she becomes. Right? So
21
yeah.
days. 21 days. Listen, sir, you speaking my language. You speaking my language. When I do it and when I talk to my clients, I give them 21 days. Stand in the mirror and tell yourself the exact opposite. First of all, I think the first thing I had to learn how to do was capture the thoughts because
Mm-hmm.
we have something called internal dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
And the internal dialogue is the conversation that takes place in your mind. And usually, when there's a conversation, there's more than one party involved. So if it's you, then who else you talking to, or who else is talking to you? And the
Mm-hmm.
Bible tells us that the enemy does throw darts into our mind. So a lot of those negative thoughts that we have are not even our own thoughts. Sometimes it's just like what you said, it came from the past. Sometimes it's whoever we looked up to in the past, be it mother, father, coach, sibling, auntie, whatever, that constantly fed to us that we not good enough or
Mm-hmm.
that we're worthless, or you're just like your sorry daddy, or whatever. And that becomes our internal dialogue, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when we have that plan in our mind and we don't check it, like we don't make the distinction that there's something else telling me that I'm not good enough, we take that dialogue and we make it our own. We take
Right.
that narrative and we make it our own. So when now we
Mm-hmm.
living like that. Now I'm living like I ain't good enough. Now I'm living like I'm not worth that I'm worthless. Or like you said, when we experience trauma, when we don't check that trauma, when we don't confront that trauma, it stays in us. It doesn't go away because we decide we're gonna get over it. It
Right.
stays, it's embedded in our subconscious mind. And what
Mm-hmm.
happens from there, it stores the information. So every time we see anything familiar to the initial trauma, we start to react. If
Yeah.
you've been abused Father God, help us tonight. If you've been abused and that abuse is not checked by way of therapy, counseling, prayer, deliverance, something.
Hmm.
If you don't have that thing checked and you let it fester on the inside of you, a root of bitterness, be mindful that a root of bitterness doesn't settle in, that it defiles many. So if
Hmm.
that anger settles on the inside of you and takes root, and you don't check it, it grows as you grow. It don't go away. And as
Yeah.
it grows, it spews. That means that's what the defile means. It spews, it comes out of you. And you spray and you bleed on everybody that you come in contact with. So
You
the
know,
fact that you said that, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
no, I don't want to cut your thought. I was going to say, I was just thinking as you were talking, and that's just, the power of music is really just thoughts put to music. You know, it's just thoughts put to music, and it transcends the church barrier, the secular barrier, so forth and so on. And when people can hear thoughts put to music, it can affect them. So that's another way, not just speaking over yourself or looking in the mirror and saying it. You can change yourself listening to music. You can change your thought pattern listening to music, and that's kind of really my method, with my switch, is to affect people without a lot of church jargon, you know, and that kind of thing, uh, but to affect them. And when I affect them and they are impacted, my music is like solution oriented, like for example, relationships. Everybody has ups and downs when it comes to relationships. Well, when I write a song, I'm not just writing a song, I'm putting a solution inside of the song. So as you're listening to the melody of it, it's getting in your mind, it's getting in your spirit, right? And the next thing you know, you're using these techniques to make your relationship better, or to get rid of who you need to get rid of from, who you need to get rid of.
Okay. So could you expound on that just a little bit? Like give me 2 minutes and expound on that just a little bit. What you mean? Like what is it about music that can shift a person internally? How does that happen? I don't know. Can you hear me? I'm sorry to cut you off, but can you hear me? I can't hear you all of a sudden. No, I can't hear you all of a sudden.
What about now? Can you hear me now?
Y'all don't move. We finna fix this. You hear me? We finna use some blind faith. Okay? Y'all don't move. Stay right there. We gonna be right back. All right, y'all. We're back. We're back. Can you say something for me just to make
Check
sure I can
one,
hear you?
two, 1 2 1 2. Check. Mic check. Can you hear me? No.
Okay, there we go. There we go. There we go.
Okay.
There we go. There we go. All right, go ahead. Finish your thought.
No, my
Yes.
thought was that music is a combination of melody through instruments and words. Scientists have proven that we are 80% water, right? So the statement that sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt is an incorrect statement. You are affected by words, by what is spoken over you, because it's just like throwing a pebble in water. They're ripples from the entrance of that pebble into the water, just like there are ripples through our spirit, through our mind, through the pebble of a word, right? We see this in kids. When somebody that they look up to speaks over them, they're very impressionable. And what that simply means is that the words that they release out of their mouth pierces them, just like a pebble in water, and it causes ripples that ripple throughout their life, right? That's why it's so important that you have to control the dialogue that's going on in your mind, because that dialogue is calling ripples, ripples in your thoughts, ripples in your emotions, ripples in your behavior, ripples in how you do things, the choices that you make, the people that you decide to connect to, the business deals that you decide to go into. So what I'm saying is, when we understand how powerful music is, we understand that that's another medium that can affect us and reset us and get us back on track, moving in the direction that we need to move in. When we understand that that can be used as a redirecting tool, then we'll be more intentional on what we listen to.
Wow. Okay. Okay. So what I'm hearing you say is it's a matter of, because from the beginning you said to change your thoughts, and the
Hmm.
way for you to change your thoughts would be to replace them with new thoughts, correct?
Right.
And that's literally an example of pulling down strongholds in the mind.
Hmm.
Like when the key is though to be able to capture it though. In other words, we get so used to the thoughts in our head, like they just be going, going,
Hmm.
going, going. But if we pay attention in the moment, how, like you said, how is that thought making you feel?
Hmm.
But the distinction is being able to determine how you feel first. Why do
Right.
I say that?
Hmm.
Because if I'm all of a sudden feeling down or sad or depressed or anxious or angry or any emotion that is negative, if I pause to pay attention to how I feel, then I can pay attention to what I'm thinking. And 9 times out of
Absolutely.
10 or 10 times out of 10, whatever I'm thinking is the catalyst to what I'm feeling.
Can I
So if
share
if
something
I'm
with you?
go ahead.
I'm not to cut your thought off, but I know if I don't say it now, it's going to slip out of my mind. But scientists have proven that whatever thoughts you think for a long period of time, your body begins to release chemicals that make you feel like what you're thinking, right? So you have to be careful about what you think over a long period of time, because what you think, that's the way that the emotion enters in. The emotion enters in through the chemical balance in your body that's being released in your body based on what you're thinking. So now you're feeling what you're thinking, right? So you cannot allow your feelings to be a means of thinking, or your thinking to be a means of feeling. You have to be very intentional when it comes to what you allow to occupy your mind, because over time it's going to make you start feeling like that. This is how people get convinced to do things that they don't want to do, because they keep on entertaining it, or convinced to accomplish something that they haven't been able to accomplish. They continue to think on it. So a man thinketh, so he becomes. So that's the process. You think about it, it creates an emotion. But I just explained to you how that emotion comes. It comes because of the chemical balance. The chemicals that's being released in your body based on what you're thinking allows you to feel. And then when you feel, that's the emotion. That invokes behavior, if that makes sense.
Wow. Okay, so what would it look like in like the plan? And it makes complete sense what you're saying. It makes complete sense what you're saying. But could you break down just a little bit more what it would look like for someone to replace those thoughts? Like I know you went over it before, but just in case somebody
Sure,
missed it, what does
sure.
that look like? If I'm always riddled with a bunch of negative thoughts, what would it look like for me to replace those stars?
Okay, you got to surround yourself by what I call reinforcement, right? It could be music that's positive. That's, music is directional, right? It directs you to think a certain way. And if it directs you to think a certain way, you're going to feel a certain way. What you read, these are all tools that you can use. What you write down, you know, right? Because you're causing something that is abstract, that is in the spiritual realm, to be natural, by writing it down. When you write it down, it is something that, even though it's not completely
To
tangible yet,
materialize.
it hasn't materialized yet, it's not completely tangible yet, but that's how it gets here. It gets here from the realm that's unseen when you write it down, because now it has a print, it has a blueprint here, right? So through writing, through reading, through meditating, and meditating basically is becoming familiar with your thoughts, right? As you become more familiar with your thoughts, you understand what can be used and what cannot be used, or what should not be used. When you become familiar with your thoughts, you're sitting there, you're thinking about this thought. You're concentrating on, how is this making me feel? And if, after feeling that and analyzing that long enough, you're saying, okay, how is this making me behave? How is it making me want to behave? Right? So to answer your question simply, you can use those three different things: what you write down, what you speak over yourself, what you listen to, can be tools that you can use that will at least get you moving in the right direction. Now, the importance of it is you got to continue to do it so you can build some momentum moving in that direction. When you build momentum, the more momentum you build, the easier it becomes to continue to move in that direction. Because now, instead of having to garner the strength to push through, now you're being pushed. And it's not easy, it's not so easy to stop.
It's that word, that momentum word is ringing in my ears, and you're absolutely right. Because what I have learned to do, especially when I'm facing like some serious challenge, like if I'm in a season, if I'm in a season of fire, what try to overtake my mind is depression.
Mhm. Mm.
Depression, because back, when I was going through my deliverance, I struggled heavily with depression. I'm talking about, everybody knows my story. I tried to unalive myself twice and was unsuccessful. So
Mm.
depression for me was a stronghold, right? And what I
Mhm.
learned to do was, when I'm in that space and I'm feeling like, because you can feel it, it's in your body, man. Like, it's like
Mhm.
an onslaught that comes. You can feel when that stuff is coming to you, and it
Mhm.
shifted for a reason. Somebody needs to hear this. But we still
Mhm.
talking about blind faith, y'all, because a lot of this stuff is happening when you're on a mission. The enemy tries to come and detour you with emotions, distractions, people. Okay,
Yeah.
he'll come
Mhm.
and throw anything he can to get you off your square. So what we're doing now is giving you the tools that you can use. This is the pulling down of the stronghold. So what I used to do is, when I would feel that heavy weight trying to come on me, instantaneously I will find me a YouTube video. Okay? Because sometimes that stuff gets so heavy, you don't even have the words to say to encourage yourself.
Yeah.
So when I get in that space and I can't even utter a word, I find me a video, y'all. These are some tools, and it sounds so simple, but when I tell you it
Mhm.
works because everything about you is energy. It's like he said, it's a ripple. It's a
Yeah.
ripple.
See, now
Everything
you're
is
saying
energy.
buzz. You're
You
saying
are
buzzwords
energy.
now. Now,
I'm
now you're
sorry, I didn't
saying
hear you.
buzzwords. You're saying buzzwords now. That's gonna pull me into, some deeper explanation. You know what I mean? I've been trying to not get into the energy and the vibration and those kinds of things, but it's exactly what you're saying. You know what I mean? Whatever it is that you're listening to is still words put to music, right? So it's the more you pay attention to it, the more it's affecting you, right? And so one other thing I wanted to chime in on, Another way, and this is what I do, when I feel sadness coming on me or something that I can't use, I listen to comedy. It raises my
Okay.
vibration.
Before you go any further, please hold it. Hold it. Don't you lose that thought. Because
Right.
go
Mhm.
see. Don't you lose that thought. We will be, I promise you, give us,
Absolutely.
stay where you at. Don't move. Don't
Mhm.
you move. We will be right back. All right, y'all. We are back. Go ahead. You got these last 10 minutes is yours. Take off. Please get into it.
Okay, so you raise your vibration. You can raise your vibration by a lot of things. I'm going to tell you what I do, what works for me. I binge on comedy, right? Because it takes my mind out of what it is that's causing a chain reaction in my emotional body, right? Um, and to laugh, to feel joy is a high vibrational function, right? So I immediately surround myself. If I'm not around where I can listen to music, I think about pleasant thoughts that bring that feeling. Because think about it now, whatever you think about is going to trigger a feeling, and then your body starts releasing chemicals to make you feel like what you're thinking. For me, I think about going over to my grandmother's house. Even though she's deceased at this point, when I used to be on my way going over there, it used to be such an excitement in my heart, right? So I'm replacing what I'm currently feeling and thinking with a pleasant thought that makes me feel happy or excited, right? Remember, there's only one thought that can occupy your mind at a time. Now, in seconds, many thoughts can go through your mind, but only one thought can occupy your mind at one time. So you got to use one of those tools. Start writing, listening to music, listening to comedy, think about a pleasant thought, think about somebody you love, you know, and when you entertain that thought, it actually occupies the same space that the thought of depression was occupying. And the longer it sits there, the more you'll feel the chemical change in your body. And it'll make you feel a certain way and behave a certain way. So if you're listening to happy and uplifting things, it's gonna make you feel like feeling uplifting and behaving like you're uplifted. Absolutely. Only one thought can occupy your mind at one time, right? And so when you understand the power of that, you hold whatever is usable hostage.
Yeah.
You hold whatever is usable hostage. I don't know where you understand that. If there's a great thought in your mind that can bring you out of that depression, you hold that thought captive. You hold it hostage until you start feeling like what you're thinking about.
Wow. Wow. I've never heard that before. I did not know that only one thought can occupy your. That's why the Bible tells you to focus and think on and meditate on good things, beautiful
Things that are pure.
things
Mm-hmm.
worthy to be praised, things worthy to
Mm-hmm.
be meditated upon. Because, wow, only
Because it's
one
gonna make you
thought.
feel
I had to
better.
put that back up there, y'all. That
Yeah.
is mind blowing to me. Only one thought can occupy your mind at one time.
Which
That's
means
why he
also,
tells you to pull it down. Go ahead.
yeah, it means also only one result can happen in your life at one time. Did you hear what I just said? Not
I'm
only
sorry,
one
you just
thought,
blew me. Hold on. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
not
What do
only
you mean by
not
that?
only not only one thought can occupy your mind at one time, but only one result can happen to you at one time. And it's based on the thought that's occupying your mind. You can't feel happy and sad at the same time. You understand what I'm saying? So if the thought is occupying your mind, whatever the thought causes you to feel like is what you're going to feel like, right? So not only can one thought occupy your mind at one time, only one emotion can occupy your body at
What
one
you
time.
draw in.
Exactly. Right. So if the thought is going to bring positive vibes and make you feel
Listen.
positive, it's impossible to feel depressed if you feeling positive. You can't feel them both at the same time. Just like you can't think two thoughts at the same time. So you hold that thought
You can't do both at the same
hostage.
time.
Yeah.
Can't do both at the same. That is wow. Well, I never like, and it's common sense, right? You would think like, how can you be happy and sad? You can't. It's impossible.
Yeah.
It's impossible. Wow, this is
Either
helping. This
one,
is helping
either
me.
one or the other thought has to be dominating your mind. Either one or the other, but both can't.
Okay, like, okay, wait. I'm sorry. I'm pausing because like it's you know how something just like the light go off and
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
it gotta resonate a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, wow, I'm so blown. Okay, so that's the tool. All right, y'all. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna do a challenge. And anybody that's down to do this challenge, please let me know because I'm gonna do it. Let's do 21 days. And why 21 days? Because it takes 21 days to break a habit and
Yeah,
21 days to create a habit.
create one.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
That's that momentum. Once you
Mm-hmm.
start doing something, the mind begins to program it and program it and
Absolutely.
program it and program it until it becomes second nature for you, right? So
Mhm.
for the next 21 days, y'all, let's do a positivity train. What does that mean? Anytime you get a negative thought, do something to shift it. Listen to some music, write down something positive, watch some comedy. Think
Come
about
on.
that. Amen. Praise
Come
God.
on.
The saints be want to put me up for what I be about to say, but I was about to say something really unholy. Praise the Lord.
Hey,
But
hey,
think about
hey.
something. Think about
Mm.
something that gives you that good feeling. That chemical that he's talking about that's released is there's more than one, but the two main ones is oxytocin, pitocin, pitocin. What am I
Mm.
talking about? That's when you're having a baby.
Mm.
Oxytocin and oh my goodness, oxytocin, and there's one more. Okay, we're just gonna stick to oxytocin for right now. That's
Mm.
the positive feel good chemical that's released into your entire body. That's why the Bible even tells you laughter does good like medicine. That's not a colloquialism. That's not just a
Mm-hmm.
quote. Laughter literally does good like
Yes.
medicine. Why? Because when
Yes.
you're laughing, your body is releasing
Mm-hmm.
oxytocin. It's
Mm-hmm.
releasing literal good chemicals that starts to heal you from the inside. Listen, this is real, y'all. And then on the flip side of that, the chemical that's being released in the body is cortisol. Now,
Mm-hmm.
cortisol, and I believe that's just one of them.
Yeah.
Cortisol is a negative chemical that's released into your body when you go to thinking negative thoughts. And it really physically, if you could get ulcers in your stomach.
Yeah.
Why do you think when you get anxious, you feel it in your belly?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think you feel it in your belly when you feeling anxious, when you getting angry, when you feel depressed, when you whatever anything any negative thought that produces a negative emotion is affiliated with cortisol.
And it's
Cortisol.
energy.
So what do
And
we
it's
do,
energy.
y'all? For the next 21 days, you hear me? For the
Mm-hmm.
next 21 days, let's go on a positive train. Anytime you can capture, because some of us struggle with negative thinking, not just negative thoughts, okay? Some of us struggle with perpetual, like a consistent flow of negative thinking. So when you can catch your thoughts and they're negative, but the easiest way to do it is pay attention to how you feeling just throughout the day. Just how you feeling. Check your own temperature while you at work, while you at home, while you with your kids. When you suddenly feeling bad, check your thoughts. And the moment you see what kind of thought you thinking and you see it's negative, change it with something positive. By doing what? We're gonna go over it again. Watching some comedy, listening to some good. I'm talking about some feel good music. Find you a YouTube video with positive affirmations or a word, whatever floats your boat and tickles your pickle. But literally meditate on something good because it shifts your internal being. Y'all, this stuff is so good. 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 Oh my God. Like I feel like I don't know. I can't explain it. It's like when you come up on something. Listen. Oh, but this Okay, let me calm down because you. I don't know what you just did in Kosi. I don't know.
Mm. Hello. Yeah, so I think she went off to come back on because I couldn't hear her. But hopefully, you guys got something out of this discussion on tonight. It's been a privilege speaking to you all and sharing some of these insights. You know, if you'd like to come visit me, uh, are you there, Apostle? You back?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Hmm.
Okay. So I just what I was saying before we were so rudely interrupted. I'm flabbergasted. And it take a lot to flabbergast me. I'm telling you, like I am flabbergasted.
Mm.
I feel like this conversation has to take flight in a different type of way. Like this is what I'm on though, and people don't understand it because of the words and the verbiage and the language. Because you're saying energy, energy is
Mhm.
equivalent to saying spirit, bro. Like
Mhm. Mhm.
but this is what we need to be saying so that people can grasp it and make
Mhm.
it real and tangible so they can apply it. So I
Yeah.
just want to say thank you. Thank
Mm.
you for coming in here and dropping
Thank,
atom bombs, okay? And
thank
it's
you
like
for
you're so
having
demure. That's the word. You're so
me.
demure with it. You're so calm because
Mm.
I'm like I'm a live wire. I can't help it. But
No,
your
it's good.
delivery is so powerful, but you be
Mm.
chilling though. You know what I'm saying? Like you just say it. And it just what
Hey.
did he just say? Yeah, he said
Mm.
that. So
Mm.
thank you so much
Thanks for having me.
for being a part of this show. Go ahead.
Hmm. No, I was just telling the audience that to play this back and listen to it. It's a lot of nuggets in here that you can use to help you to accomplish what it is that you want to accomplish. And I was just letting them know how they could connect with me, if they desire to do so and listen to the music, which is NKOSI TV. That's my YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. I think is NKOSI Instagram, NKOSI Majestic, Majestic, NKOSI Majestic. So yeah, and I have a single that's coming out on the 27th, which will be next Tuesday. And it's a song about pure love. And so if you listen to it, you may fall in love, you may start feeling good. So I want to make sure that, before you listen to it, give you that caution. It's going to release some chemicals in your body to make you feel good about life, So yeah, it's called Your Mind, and you can get it on any platform from Apple Music to wherever. So that's it.
All right. You know,
I thought
we
we was
gonna
gonna
keep
get
it
a chance.
holy. We gonna
I
keep
thought
it
we was gonna get a
holy.
chance to play the song tonight. I didn't know if you were gonna play it tonight or what, but
Oh no, I'm sorry. I didn't know.
it's okay. No,
I'm
no
so
problem.
sorry. We got listen. That's okay because you coming back. Okay, you're gonna come back, and we're gonna listen. We're gonna do our one too. But it's
Absolutely.
you know how it is. You know how it
Yeah.
is in TV land, sir. You know how
Yeah.
it go. We got to
Absolutely.
follow the rules. We got to follow the
Mhm.
rules.
Mhm.
Okay, y'all. So we're gonna go ahead and get to the next portion. I just want to say thank you to all of my supporters, and if you want to continue to support, these are the ways that you can support. All monetary gifts can be sent to Zelle, email ditrcorpfl@gmail.com, or you can cash app money sign DDULTD. And listen, no amount is too small, no amount is too great, but anything that you decide to give, I just want you to know, is allowing us to stay on TV. Believe it or not, y'all, this ain't free. You have to make an investment to see a harvest. So every time you all sow, it allows us the ability to get on platforms like TV and radio all over the world. Y'all, on these seeds. And for that, I am eternally grateful to you. If you thank you, if you're getting ready to sow, thank you. Now is between you and God. I'm not even going to get into all that. All right, y'all. So let's get to the most important part for me. All right. I want to do a call to salvation. I want to invite somebody, anybody, to come into God's family, to receive Christ as your Lord and your Savior. And listen, He is not the God that these sacrilegious folk. God, I said I was going to be holy, so let me keep it cute. He is not the God that you think He is. He's not sitting on a throne waiting for you to make a mistake to send you to hell. Because if that was the case, I should have been in hell about 5 times ago. Okay? No, no. The God I serve, He will love you into your transformation. He's patient. Listen, my God chased after me because I wasn't running. Who I was all right in the life I was living. I ain't want to come over and cross over, not at all. I was good. Okay? But He loved me, and He, by His love and His kindness, He kept drawing me and drawing me until I finally surrendered and gave Him my life. And listen, it's the best thing I could have ever done. Does it mean that it rids me of all my issues and problems? No, because life is process and healing is perpetual. But what it guarantees is that you have someone with you when you in the fire. You have someone with you in that fire, so that when you come out of that fire, you won't even smell like smoke. You hear me? So if you want to be introduced to this God, introduced into this family, say this prayer with me. Lord Jesus, I believe in my heart. I confess with my mouth that you are my Lord and Savior. I believe you died for my sins and rose on the third day. I believe you are the Christ. I receive you now, and I am now in the family of God. All right, y'all. If you pray, let me tell you, there is a cloud of witnesses that are rooting you on. So I'm gonna root you on too. That was the best choice you could have ever made. So what do you do now? You just keep walking. It is a process. It didn't take you 24 hours to be who you are. It's not going to take 24 hours for you to unlearn everything that you know that makes you who you are. Find a community that's going to love you and hate you. That's going to lift you and not drop you. That's going to feed you truth and not feed you lies. But most of, no matter what anybody says about you or what anybody thinks about you just keep shining. I love you, but God loves you best. Bye, y'all.
We are